Again, thank you so much to Mrs. Chinnar for sharing such meaningful work. Now let's explore an exciting alternative to traditional university. For the degree apprenticeship seminar, we welcome Mr. Dennis Kulich, a project manager apprentice at Amazon, completing his degree apprenticeship with the University of Exeter. He has also led security operations at Deutsche Bank and gained finance experience at Goldman Sachs alongside certifications in Bloomberg Market Concepts and ESG. Welcome, Mr. Kulich.
Thank you for that introduction. Pretty happy about that. But yeah, I'm just gonna share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it. Let's see. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, we see it now.
Is it the apprenticeships?
Yeah.
Yep, cool. Okay, so hi guys. Today I'm going to be going through apprenticeships as a whole and what type of opportunities is available to you guys, and what type of fields and industries you can explore as an apprentice. So has it moved to the next slide?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So a bit about me. I'll just introduce myself. So I'm entering my second year as a project manager degree apprentice at Amazon. Originally, I did go to university straight after my A levels. However, I decided it wasn't for me, and I didn't particularly like the experience that I had. So I thought, I'd rather get some hands-on work experience, and I decided an apprenticeship would be much better for me. Right now, I'm working towards a bachelor's in project management from the University of Exeter, which is a Russell Group. So it's a pretty good uni whilst I'm working as well. And in Amazon, what I do is I work in Amazon logistics, specifically in their fleet department. So what that includes is we do vehicle tech upgrades. We speak with companies like Mercedes and Ford on how we want our Amazon vans to look like. And we also ensure that Amazon is following the law when it comes to, having a roadworthy fleet and so on. We have a lot of different laws around the EU that we need to follow. So I work with a team that helps manage that as well. So, what are apprenticeships? I don't know if you guys know or not, but I'll just give a little introduction anyways. So, an apprenticeship is a program where you can study towards a qualification whilst also working. So, you're earning a salary whilst also getting your education or your qualification paid for as well. So, it's a pretty good opportunity compared to university where you have to pay to learn. Here, you're getting paid to learn. Um, so I definitely recommend apprenticeships, but there are a lot of different levels of apprenticeships, and it depends. If you want to pursue an apprenticeship, it depends on where in your career you are. So there's level two apprenticeships, which is equivalent to five GCSEs. So these are usually for very entry level roles. If you decide that you don't want to do your GCSEs, you'd rather have a level two apprenticeship instead. These can be retail assistants, hospitality, and business admin. Then we've got level three apprenticeships. So if you've done your GCSEs and you decide, I don't really want to do A levels or B Tech, I just want to start working. So you can do a level three apprenticeship, and these usually involve technician, assistant roles, or assistant paralegal as well. Then you've got level four apprenticeships. These usually require A levels or something to get into. So it's equivalent to your first year of university, the qualification that you get. And usually these can be HR roles, network engineers, or construction roles as well. Then we've got level five apprenticeships. These are equivalent to the second year of university or equivalent to a diploma as well. What these usually are a bit more professional roles, and you often, require a bit more responsibility and managerial skills. So these could be operation managers, HR advisors, or a junior project manager. Then we've got level six, which are degree apprenticeships. That's what I'm doing right now. So they're equivalent to a full bachelor's degree, the level six qualification. However, some companies also offer a bachelor's degree as well. So you get two qualifications, which is what I'm doing. These usually involve more professional, more leadership skills. So these could be chartered surveyors, a police constable, a project manager, or software engineer. Then we've got level seven apprenticeships. These are equivalent to a master's degree. And these usually require professional and leadership skills requiring big responsibilities. And these are like being a solicitor or an accountant or something like that. Usually, what you'll get is a professional qualification, such as your ACCA or CIMA, so something that has real world application. So that's it for what are apprenticeships. I hope now you understand what you can do as an apprentice. So who provides apprenticeships? There's an apprenticeship for almost every single field you can think of, and all the big companies you can think of also provide apprenticeships. You can see on the screen, you've got banks, you've got healthcare, you've got car companies, engineering companies, law firms, airlines, what else? Tech firms. So, the you can kind of get an apprenticeship for anything you want. You're not really limited. A lot of people say can't really become a lawyer for an apprenticeship, but Linklaters, which is one of the biggest firms in the UK, they provide solicitor apprenticeships. Or if you want to go into, becoming a mechanical engineer, you've got car companies, Rolls-Royce, Mercedes, Porsche, all of them provide apprenticeships. If you want to go into finance as well, the top banks in the world provide apprenticeships. HSBC, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Barclays, all of them do. And then again, if you want to go into tech, you want to be a software engineer, Google, Amazon, Samsung, they all provide apprenticeships as well. So you're not limited at all when you're looking for an apprenticeship. So there are some stereotypes that come with apprenticeships, especially if you're not very like well educated on what apprenticeships actually are. So I'm just going to go through some of them and, say if they're true or false. So first one, you might hear apprenticeships are for people who aren't really smart. And it's like definitely not true at all. People say, oh, you're only doing an apprenticeship because you couldn't get into uni. And that's not true at all. Some apprenticeships, have requirements of A star AA. So, only these smart people can get them. So, apprenticeships are for everyone, whether you do well in your academic studies or not. There's an apprenticeship for everyone. Other things people say is you'll be stuck in a low level role after your apprenticeship. That's definitely not true. Being an apprentice, you gain that real world experience. I know somebody who in Amazon, he was a finance apprentice, and after his apprenticeship, he had companies like British Airways calling him, Samsung were calling him to be a manager at their company. And bear in mind, he's only 21 years old at this point. So clearly, it shows that the real world experience actually has application. Apprenticeships are only for teenagers. Definitely not true. No matter where you are in your career, you can apply for an apprenticeship. In my project management cohort, there's somebody who's 35, and there's also people who are 18 years old as well, So it's not really only young people can do apprenticeships. You can do an apprenticeship whenever you want. Apprentices only do boring, low-level tasks. Speaking from experience, that's definitely not true. I've been given a £250,000 budget to work on some projects within Amazon. What I have to do is create an online training course for all Amazon delivery stations across the EU to complete. So, it's definitely tasked with big responsibility that has actual application into the business. And also, people say employers would rather have a uni student than an apprentice. That's definitely not true. As the example I gave before, somebody from Amazon actually is having other big companies reach out to him. He's not even applying. The companies are reaching out to him to ask him for a job, saying, we want you here, and so on. So definitely employers value that real world experience. Now, other things people say maintaining an apprenticeship is harder than getting one. I personally think this is true. Definitely, the application process is rigorous, but once you're in, it is a lot more difficult to actually maintain one because it's difficult to balance that work and that study and that social life as well, which I'll get into more later on. Apprentices have less social life than full-time students. Definitely true. You're balancing work, study, and any other commitments you have. You're doing a 9 to 5 every single day. You don't have much time when you come home. So definitely your social life does take a bit of a hit as an apprentice. And finally, less than 1% of apprenticeship applications get an offer. That's true? Is 0.7% of apprenticeship applications translate into an offer. So it's definitely not easy getting one. But I think it's definitely worth it. Moving on to the application process of an apprenticeship. Apprenticeships usually open from September to March, although there are still some open throughout the year. You can find apprenticeships so easily just searching on Google apprenticeships open. There's some websites that offer, good apprenticeships that you can have a look on, or there's a specific company you want to work for, you can apply directly on their website. Ensure you meet the minimum requirements. Some they might say you need A levels CCC. Some might say you just need GCSEs, English and maths. It depends on the company, depends on the role. So what you want to do then is fill out the information that they're asking for, and also create a tailored CV for the role description. Remember, they're not expecting you to have the most experience in the world. On my CV, I wrote that I worked at a burger shop and a couple insights here and there. They just want you to show that you have the skills to grow in the role. They're not expecting you anything crazy. Then you need to complete the psychometric and situational judgment or the online assessments. These come with a lot of practice. I really struggled with these. In year 13, I think I applied to about 30 apprenticeships and I got zero offers. And I think that's the main reason why the psychometric and situational judgment tests were really hard. So you can practice these online. If you search Arctic Shores assessment or so on, you can kind of get a taste of what they're looking for. It's just to judge how do you think, under time pressure and so on. If successful, you'll proceed to the interview stage. This is where you need to be confident, also research the company well. If you do progress into an interview stage, I recommend using the STAR format, which is situation, task, action, and result. For any job, and any question, use that format to answer their questions. Always be confident, don't be shy as well with the interviewer. And finally, if you proceed, you'll be invited to an assessment center where you'll be interviewed by a panelist. You could be asked to complete an exercise or work with a team to assess whether you're a good fit for the company. In the assessment center, you'll have all the candidates, all the potential candidates in a room where you'll have to work together and so on. And then the recruiters will decide whether you're a good fit or not. This is where you need to be confident, be a team player, be responsible, don't impose yourself on the group, but then you also need to show that you demonstrate leadership abilities as well. So you need to balance that throughout. What's next? If successful, you'll receive an email or they might call you offering an apprenticeship at the company. They'll send over the contract which you need to sign and so on. Salaries for apprentices range from 20K to 32K, depending on the industry you're applying for and the level of apprenticeship you're applying for as well. Don't be scared. They won't throw you in the deep end straight away. You'll be eased into the company's culture. I didn't start getting real proper work until about 3 months after I started. Be professional in the workplace. It's not school anymore. This is where you joke around and so on. You're in a professional environment, so you need to act professionally as well. You'll be given a contact with your training or education provider for the study side of your apprenticeship, and they'll explain how do you obtain your qualification, what do you need to do in your apprenticeship to be successful and graduate from it. Once you're in the role, be curious, ask questions, expand your knowledge, and be communicative. You don't want to be silent in the office and not really speak to anyone. Take ownership, be responsible, and be visible. It's good to show to your team and to the recruiters that they made the right choice by hiring you. So here's some pros and cons of apprenticeships. So first, let's go for a pro. Earn regular income for you to spend and save, getting ahead of others who will need to wait 3 years if they're doing a uni degree to earn regular income. So, you kind of get that 3 year head start by earning a salary. You can save, whether that's for a house, for a car, or a holiday. You kind of get that head start without having to rely on any student loans or whatnot. You can also gain experience, putting you ahead of the majority of other students and setting you up better for your career. As I mentioned before, I know a lot of apprentices who go on to do much bigger things. Big companies reach out to them via LinkedIn saying, I've seen that you worked at Amazon for 3 years, I want you at this company. So definitely gaining that experience puts you ahead so far. No student loans or debt for you to pay back. So by doing a uni degree, you'll accumulate 40 to 50K of student loans. By doing an apprenticeship, you're getting paid to get a qualification. You're getting paid to work as well. So you don't come out of it with any debt. You can earn a professional qualification whilst building real workplace skills that future employers will greatly value. So, alongside my apprenticeship, I actually get three qualifications, which is a level 6 apprenticeship qualification. I get a bachelor's degree from University of Exeter, and I also get a associate of project managers qualification as well, which any company will value. You know, it's a qualification that applies to any industry and any company. So definitely apprenticeships, you earn qualifications that a uni wouldn't be able to provide to you as well. And also, you can move into a full-time role after your apprenticeship, not having to worry about finding a job after you finish your apprenticeship, you know, because you've got that real-world experience. If you demonstrate to the company that you're a good fit, they can decide to keep you on. Even if they don't decide to keep you on, you have all that experience that you can use to move on to another company or so on. Some cons of apprenticeships is less flexibility in terms of moving career paths after your apprenticeships. For example, if you apply to an engineering apprenticeship and then you decide, you know, this isn't for me, maybe I want to do law instead, it's quite hard to make that switch. So you are pretty limited once you've decided which apprenticeship you're going to go ahead with. They can be extremely competitive and tiresome to obtain an apprenticeship. As I mentioned before, you know, in year 13, I applied so much and I got zero offers and I just had to apply again the next year while I was at university. So yeah, it is very competitive. The work-life balance can be extremely difficult to manage as there's no structured holidays. So no more Christmas holidays, no more Easter holidays, no more summer holidays. Usually you get about 25 to 30 days a year off, including weekends. So, you know, it's a big change from what you guys are currently used to. And also, you're doing the work of a full-time student whilst also balancing a full-time job. So, you know, all your uni friends that are studying their degrees, you're doing the same as them, but you've also got a 9 to 5 to balance as well. So, definitely, the social life is really hard to balance whilst you're balancing all of these aspects. And also, you may miss out on making new connections with people that are similar aged as you'll be in a professional working environment. So, you'll be with a lot older people. You won't really be with teenagers like yourself if you're young and you're applying for an apprenticeship. So you might not be able to make those, connections that you're looking for. And yeah, 1 minute to spare. Any questions or anything like that?
I
I'm
think
happy
the
to answer.
timing is very perfect. We've got 1 minute and we've got one question.
Yes. How
The question is, how is the balance between on-the-job training and the learning side of things?
So what I have, I'll speak from experience first, then I'll speak more broader. What I have is 4 days. I work from 8:30 to 5:30. Usually I might have to stay later or so on, depending on how busy I am. So that's 4 days in the week. And then one day I'm given just to study only. I don't do any work on that day. I just study. I focus on my uni work, whether that's assignments or revision. That's what I use that day for. So 4 days a week work, one day study, and then once a month how Amazon have structured it is I'll have university lectures, just straight like 10 hours of lectures nonstop. It is quite draining, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm gaining experience and whatnot. It is definitely hard. I often delay my uni work so I can do my actual work because I've got a lot on my plate. It's definitely not easy. You will have to put in a lot of late nights, doing assignments and whatnot, but you know, you're given one day a week just to study and the other 4 days are for working. So yeah.
We are out of time, but there is one question that I don't think will take too long. Uh, how many days will you be doing this apprenticeship in the year? Or maybe the question is asking how many days will you be working?
So as I said before, it's about 4 days. Every apprenticeship they do it differently. Amazon is four. Majority of companies is 4 days a week work and one day study. So that's how majority are structured. Some might change, but as for the majority, it's 4 days work, one day study, and then your weekend off.
I think they're asking, oh, okay, how many days off do you get? About like holidays, I think they're talking
Yeah.
about Christmas, Easter,
So
some.
I get bank holidays off, which is I think there's about 5 or 6 in the year, which is Christmas, New Year's, May bank holiday, so on. And I also get 25 days off in the entire year. So Monday to Friday, if I want to take a week off, that will be 5 days. So total, I get 5 weeks off plus bank holidays. No summer holidays, no Christmas holidays. But yeah.
Thank you very much. There were more questions coming through, but unfortunately, we do have to move on to the next talk. The questions we will forward to Dennis so he can respond, and then we will forward the responses to you guys, hopefully. Thank you very much for your time, Dennis.
No problem. Happy to help. I'll answer them later, yeah?
Thank you very much. We can move.